Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review some of the DC Comics for the week of January 18th, 2022. Just a heads up, guys, Jace is not going to be joining me this week, and that's actually my fault. Jace is actually reviewing these DC Comics on his own, his Comic Source podcast on his own. We couldn't coordinate and do it together. I have had a little bit of a family crisis. My daughter, Audrey, is in the hospital. She has been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and so she's I've spent a lot of time in the hospital in the last few days. My wife and I, and Audrey's doing fine, but there's some ups and downs, and so we're just family comes first, and Jace understands that, and I'm sure you guys do too. So I'm just going to give truncated reviews this week. I'm just doing this early in the morning, and so this isn't going to be my usual. This isn't going to be the usual deep dive that Jason and I do. But I do encourage you to go check out Jace at the Comic Source podcast, and I can leave the link below. Or just type in the Comic Source podcast. It's easy to find, and you'll get his perspective on the. He'll probably talk about all the books this week, but I just wanted to talk about a few that I thought were that most stood out to me. And so without further ado, I want to get right into it. First of all, talking about Blue and Gold. Blue and Gold. This was Dan Jurgens, Ryan Sook. Ryan Sook's the art on this continues to be really good. I find it to be, the art here it continues to be impressive to me. I'm enjoying this. It's Dan Jurgens really at his best. If you've been enjoying this series so far, this continues to do it. Continues to sort of ramp up the comedy and some good callbacks too. We got Rip Hunter shows up right at the beginning. It's a nice introduction of Rip Hunter. I get the impression that Dan Jurgens is a Beatles fan, because Rip Hunter is literally he's actually in Liverpool in the past, in 1962, listening to the Beatles play before they were famous. And and that's before he takes off to the present, where ultimately Booster Gold and Blue Beetle are fighting off against this Omnizon, this Princess Omnizon, who for whatever reason thinks that she's destined to rule the Earth or something, and her planet is. And most of the issue here, it's Ryan Sook on the art and the cover does a good job. The story is not a heck of a lot happens per se. Steve Busolato. I don't have Jace here to correct my pronunciations of these words, but in any event, great colors by Steve Busolato, as you'll see as we go through it here. Jurgens continues to have a lot of fun going, reflecting the social media landscape as they watch Booster and Blue Beetle battle Omnizon, and there seems to be a lot of this whole thing seems to just be a lot of action and a lot of there's a lot of interaction between Booster Gold and Blue Beetle and their fans. And basically what they want to do is that they want to, I guess they essentially want to, they want to ask Booster Gold and Blue Beetle for help. And because Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, of course, they were rejected by the Justice League, and they want to be able, they initially, of course, they wanted people to hire them to help them as their superheroes. They can help them with, for various deeds. But unfortunately, because of a screw up, they work for free now, which isn't very good. Because their initial plan was to be, so helpful and joyful and help people. But Blue Beetle, of course, is broke. He's no longer CEO of his company, and now people are coming of all shapes and sizes and stripes, and they're asking Blue Beetle and Booster Gold for help. And in the midst of all this, Omnizon, Princess Omnizon, actually, she doesn't even have to disguise herself. She's actually pretends she's one of the people asking for the help of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. And of course, She's just drawn amazingly. Ryan Silk makes her look sexy, intimidating as hell, and very powerful, and just beautiful art. And really a good issue. It was entertaining. If you've fans of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, Dan Jurgens' classic run, you're gonna love this. And Ryan Silk, man. Ryan Sook was one of the saving graces on Bendis' Legion of Superheroes. Is that even if you weren't a fan of the writing of Legion of Superheroes in those first 12 issues, at least we had Ryan Sook's art to draw a beautiful 31st century. But in any event, Rip Hunter does show up, and unfortunately, it appears as if Omnizon might be right that she might in fact be the ruler of Earth. But I'm sure that has something to do with time shenanigans that we'll find about later. But in any event, it's an issue that I would, it's a lot of fun. I'd recommend that people can certainly have a lot of fun, and you can, pick it up and give it a look-see. All right. Continuing on. Black Manta. This is an issue that I wanted to address because this is leading into AQUAMAN, the AQUAMAN series. And one of the things about what the series has been trying to establish is it's trying to build up more of a mythology for Black Manta. So it's not just trying to build up a mythology for Aquaman's mythology, but also Black Manta and Black Manta's relationship with Atlantis. And what writer Chuck Brown is trying to do clearly is that he's trying to make Black Manta more than just a guy who's obsessed and angry with Arthur Curry. And, and that's quite obvious in terms of how he's been telling this story in this series so far. Unfortunately, this series has been plagued by art that isn't up to task, and the writing hasn't been all that clear. And I've been frustrated about this. Jason and I have talked about it, and I can tell you that this issue is probably. We finally get some revelations here, and this issue we finally get more information on Devil Ray's motivations. Because one of the questions that I always had from the beginning is, why does Devil Ray hate Black Manta so much? And we know from the beginning that Devil Ray hates Black Manta and has some kind of past relationship with him, but we didn't know what it was. Well, bottom line here, what we've discovered is that Devil Ray, when he was a young boy, he always idolized Black Manta. So young Devil Ray always idolized Black Manta, and he apparently, as a young boy, he idolized the genocidal maniac known as Black Manta. Black Manta was always obsessed with AQUAMAN, and Black Manta was a killer, a murderer. So, and yet somehow this kid idolized that. Which is really weird. I mean, we've had, when young kids, I remember as a young kid playing with action figures a little bit, you know what I mean? And maybe, sometimes I'll pretend I'm the Joker, I pretend I'm doing this or that, but it's quite another to go from playing action figures and pretending you're a bad guy to obsessing over the supervillain and then growing up wanting to be the supervillain. Writer Chuck Brown here, what he does here doesn't quite work for me. It lacks a degree of verisimilitude that I find very depressing in this day and age. This is something that I would have expected to read back in the Silver Age type of storytelling sensibilities. And unfortunately, I don't really mean that in a particularly flattering way. But I'm trying to be diplomatic about it. Why young Devil Ray Devil Ray grows up, he sharpens his mind, he hones his killer instincts, and he learns the world's ugliest secrets. And he harnesses the power of fate, and through the again terrible art, we get bits and pieces of Devil Ray fighting Killer Croc. There's one with him being with Man-Bat and the Demon, I think, and there's a suggestion that he's done all kinds of things in secret to hone his skills, and then he became a member of the Manta Men, and then Devil Ray at one point was a member of Black Manta's Manta Men, and for some reason he thought joining the Manta Men, Black Manta's Manta Men, would help free his people, he says, I was ready to be part of the revolution, to free our people from blatant systemic oppression with the power of Atlantis. What the hell is he talking about? Like, systemic oppression, what's systemic oppression? Is he talking about the systemic oppression of blacks? Because we had the one issue that it showed the black slave trade, the history of the black slave trade in the various slave colonies. Is he talking about African American systemic oppression? Okay. Or is he, I think maybe he's trying to refer to the systemic oppression of the Zebellians, because he discovered that he's a Zebellian, which is the tribe that left Atlantis, the the tribe that sort of took off from Atlantis, splintered off from Atlantis, and became Zebellians. And Zebellian and Black and David Hyde, who is Black Manta, he's a Zebellian. His son Jackson Hyde is a Zebellian, and Mira, Arthur Curry's wife, is a Zebellian. And the king of Zebel sent Mira at one point to kill Aquaman, and that's how Aquaman met Mira. But in any event, it's really weird that this Devil Ray, he joined the Manta Men at one point because he actually thought Black Manta was going to help him fight systemic oppression. Like, is he retarded? Like, there was nothing about Black Manta. Black Manta's always been about obsession with Aquaman, and in fact, Devil Ray even says that. Yeah, but you were so obsessed with Aquaman, and we got tied up in all these crises and all this other stuff, and you abandoned our true purpose, which again is ridiculous. Now, obviously, we can just pass this off and say Devil Ray is just insane. Well, obviously, he's insane. He's a psychopath. He's just ridiculous. At some point, Devil Ray, as a Manta Man, came upon a bit of oraculum, which is this mineral, and this oraculum stone spoke to Devil Ray, and he heard voices from it, voices from the past of Zebel. And for some reason, when confronted with this oraculum stone, David Hyde, the Black Manta, does not hear those same voices. But you need to have two Zebels. You need to have Zebels from the same bloodline or something in order to make this trident, in order to shape the oraculum stone into a trident, which is what Devil Ray wants to create. He needs David Hyde. But in order to get David Hyde, Black Manta, there to help him make the trident, to complete the transformation of the oraculum stone into a trident, he needs, of course, to blackmail Black Manta to help him out. Dr. Mist, at some earlier on, cures the defect, because Black Manta and Torrent, this other character Torrent, were dying. Torrent was the character that popped out of the Doom's doorway. We know very little about her. She also apparently is perhaps has some history with Zebel. That was always unclear. In any event, Devil Ray shows up and shoots Gallus Goat, Gallus Goat, into the heart, and Dr. Mist is trying to save her while Black Manta goes and deals with Devil Ray. And that's really how the issue ends. Not really sure what the purpose is. Devil Ray apparently now has decided that the way for him to battle systemic oppression, and again, that's all we get. Systemic oppression of what? Systemic oppression of Zebels, systemic oppression of African Americans, systemic oppression originating in the drug trade. What are you talking about? There's a profound lack of clarity in this narrative that is very, very, it's very distressing to me. It's not very distressing to me. It's disappointing, because there are going to be people that read this that are going to just pass this off by saying another angry black man comic, and that's so sad, because that's how it comes across in parts. Just an insane, angry black man who's against systemic oppression and wants to, for some reason, thinks that the best way to deal with that is to gas and kill all the Atlanteans and clear those pests from our ancestral home. So if you're going to say systemic oppression, you should link that to the actual Zebellian cause, because it's not clear. Also, explain why you had that whole issue. Why were you referencing the black slave trade and all those other slave colonies in an earlier issue? That's not explained. Is that going to be explained? In any event, this is a significant this is a miss. I mean, I can kind of get where it's going, but overall, it's disappointing and a significant miss, and it's unfortunate because I think it could have been much better. But in any event, let's move on. Batman the Knight. Uh, sorry, clear my vote here. Clear my voice. This is Chip Sardasky's The Knight. This is the story of Batman beginning. This is really a young Bruce Wayne trying to learning how to come. This is part of the learning process of him trying to become Batman, or in his early years. This is essentially telling the story of a teenage Bruce Wayne. It actually goes back and forth between telling the story of a child Bruce Wayne and a teenage Bruce Wayne, that and the experiences he had that will one day lead him to, obviously become the Batman. And so surprise, surprise, young Bruce Wayne is pretty screwed up. He's actually a bully at school. Bruce Wayne is a complete bully, and he's kind of an a-hole. He's if there was a when he went to Gotham Academy, young Bruce Wayne protected a young girl by the name of Dana Dunlop from bullies, and then he spent the rest of the year completely tormenting these bullies so badly that the one bully had to quit school. He locked the bully in a boiler room. He did a number of things to the bully that were just plain really cruel. Bruce Wayne has a lot of anger. When young Bruce Wayne had a lot of anger in him, and it really built up over time. And it was quite obvious that that young Bruce Wayne is pretty screwed up. And the centerpiece of this opening issue by Chip Sardasky, with art by Gia Domenico, with colors by Ivan Placencia. The centerpiece of this issue was really therapy by Hugo Strange. A young Hugo Strange is actually the therapist here. And Chip Sardasky does something rather clever, because Hugo Strange is trying to get into Bruce Wayne, a young Bruce Wayne's head, to try to help him dealing with his issues, and ultimately determines that it's his anger. But Bruce Wayne has an ulterior motive for being there, because Hugo Strange is actually giving therapy to his friend Dana Dunlop, and Dana is also essentially, her family is also a billionaire family as well, but they're slowly losing money. They're slowly losing their fortune, and no one can figure out why. But the reason why they're slowly losing their fortune is because Hugo Strange is using hypnotherapy on Dana Dunlop and manipulating her and slowly depriving her of her fortune. And Bruce Wayne is really just there. So the interesting thing is, Bruce Wayne is in front of Hugo Strange, ostensibly for therapy, but he's actually there really more to investigate Hugo Strange. So he's really there with an ulterior motive. So you get the sense that does Bruce Wayne really care? Does he really need the therapy? Does he even want the therapy? He's there for an ulterior motive. Yes, maybe he's getting something. Is Bruce Wayne getting anything from his therapy with Hugo Strange when he's talking about his past as an angry young man at Gotham Academy who takes care of bullies? You really, it's interesting. You don't, you wonder. Bruce Wayne doesn't really seem to give a rat's ass about his own particular therapy. Bruce Wayne seems to feed off his anger. And probably the most poignant scene is a couple were the ones which, surprise, surprise, involve Alfred. Alfred cleaned out the family library in Wayne Manor and told Bruce, "Look, I want to fill the Wayne Manor up with books that you have read, because you need to hone your mind. You need more than just anger and your physical body, your physicality. You need to hone your mind." Because your mind can be a weapon as well. And the other relationship in this comic is his relationship with Dana Dunlop. Dana asks Bruce what he wants to be when he grows up, and initially Bruce Wayne tells her he wants to be a cop. He wants to fight crime, but he soon realizes that that's probably not the route to go. He's got to do something different. The other thing that Bruce does is that he fights in an underground fight club, and he fights. Just as ways to dealing with his anger and to try to build up his strength and his body and everything, and it's clear that this is just a way of him acting out on his anger. And again, this is a 30-page comic. It's very short, sweet, and to the point. He has a vision at one point with showing a knight in shining armor, and I'm not sure why that's there, but this is called Batman the Knight. I don't know why it's called Batman the Knight. He has a vision of an actual knight in shining armor, which is really weird. I mean, we know that Batman is the Dark Knight, and so, but this is Batman the Knight, and it's interesting that the dark aspect is missing from the title. This is the Knight. This isn't the Dark Knight. Why is that? This was this the night before he became the Dark Knight? Is that what this kind of is? I'm just speculating why it's called what it is. I'd be curious to Chip Sardasky that. Maybe he's answered that in an interview. Perhaps some of you guys can fill me in on the chat if that's the case. But in any event, Alfred gets very upset with Bruce Wayne when he discovers that he's been fighting in a nightclub, because he says, I raised you to be better than that. And those guys that you're fighting in this underground fight club, Bruce, these are guys that are fighting to put food on the table, and they're desperate, and that's why they fight. And you're going there and making a mockery of it just because you're angry and you haven't dealt constructively with what you haven't come to terms with the trauma and that of the death of your parents, and you're better than this. And Bruce Wayne, the Fight Club gets broken up by police. Bruce Wayne gets arrested. Alfred frees him, of course, pays his bail, and Alfred just gets angry at Bruce and tells him he's got to do something. He's got to deal with himself in a better way. You've been given. At one point, Alfred says to Bruce, "You've been given everything. Prove that you deserve it." And that's a lesson learned by Bruce Wayne. And it ends with him, making arrangements for the police to show up and arrest Hugo Strange for his illegal use of, his committing fraud against Dana Dunlop's family, and that's how this particular issue ends. It's interesting. It's good. Does it say anything new about Batman's earlier years? I wouldn't say it does, but it's interesting. It's got me intrigued. I always like seeing different writers' theories in terms of what were the experiences that formed a young Bruce Wayne that made him become Batman. And this was a good read, and I think people are going to enjoy this. I do. So I would recommend you guys pick it up. I think it's pretty good. Okay. Now, next one, what do we have? Oh, Aquaman the Becoming. I don't have much to say about Aquaman the Becoming. I'm not a huge, I haven't been a huge fan of this series as much as I had hoped. This is just, it's another prelude to Aquaman. We know from Black Manta, as I've already indicated, that Devil right now is just obsessed with, he's a Zebelian, he's an insane person who wants to destroy Atlantis and put Zebel first. And we know now from Aquaman the Becoming that Jackson Hyde's family, his mother is a Zebelian rebel as well, and that his sister is a Zebelian warrior, and his grandmother is a more of a fanatical Zebel leader. So I got mixed feelings about this. I think there's a lot of storytelling potential in this. There's a lot of storytelling potential. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not good. I think it's interesting. It just doesn't really I guess blow me away. It's clear that it feels like this is really all just set up. And I guess that's exactly what it is. It's just set up to give Jackson Hyde more relevance and more gravitas, and frankly, make them more relevant to Atlantean history. Because Jackson Hyde before was just a son of an insane person named David Hyde. But now they're making David Hyde a member of the deserter tribe that deserted Atlantis thousands of years ago. And they're giving him his own family of Zebel warriors and leaders. And yeah, so I guess there's that. And what is Aquaman going to be about? I don't know. I don't know. It's clear here though that Black Manta, neither Black Manta or Aquaman the Becoming show Arthur Curry at all. Mira showed up in the early pages of Aquaman the Becoming. This very clearly is trying to focus exclusively on Jackson Hyde, and it does a good job doing that. Um, I just don't find it to be. It's I don't find the story to be all that interesting. Uh, this is clearly the grandmother here is. We got a number of players. We got Mika, who is Jackson Hyde's grandmother. Her daughter Lucia, who is Jackson Hyde's mother, is framed. Is Lucia Jackson Hyde's mother, along with Jackson Hyde, is framed along with Jackson, and uh, there's a conscription that is taking place of Zebel citizens into war against Atlantis. This is happening on Zebel, and there's also so I guess they want to prevent war between Zebel and Atlantis. So that's interesting. There's also this character Howie, who I think I don't know. I don't know if this is this Howie character. First, Jackson Hyde was attracted to the waiter in issue 1, and then there's this Black Howie character who just shows up, who's a friend, and I guess he's attracted to Jackson. Um, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, there's that. I guess I'm not. Yeah, whatever floats your boat. I'm not. Um, yeah, I, I'm this. I guess this isn't really. I'm not really getting much out of this, to be honest. I don't. I wish this was more exciting. I wish there was more characters in here that I was familiar with. Now I say that but I don't want to be. Uh, I'm being unfair a little bit. I admit that because, well, of course, these characters I'm somewhat unfamiliar with. One of the reasons why I'm reading this is because I want to become familiar with characters that I'm not familiar with. But at the same time, I don't know if I find them all that interesting, but I'm gonna continue to give them a chance because I do think that we do need more of a mythology and we for Zebel and Atlantis, and this is building to that. So I give writer Brandon Thomas credit for that. And in any event, it ends with Jackson Hyde finally deciding that he's going to stop the Zebels from attacking a peace conference between the Atlanteans and the Zebelians, and that's going to happen next issue. So again, it's it's clear that when this ends with 6 issues, that a lot will have been done to have established Jackson Hyde's family as being very significant players in the Zebelian culture. And so in many ways, Jackson Hyde is just as significant a player in the Zebelian culture as Arthur Curry is in the Atlantean one. So this is a way to sort of prop up and give some more gravitas to the character of Jackson Hyde, and I think that it will do that. And there's enough clarity here. There's far more clarity in this narrative than there is in Black Manta, thank God. And the art is substantially superior. The art here is really good between Pelletier, Ortega, and then Rapmond and Braun Grabadger on the inks. Colors by Adriana Lucas. Overall, this has been a very good. This has been a very good comic book, and I would recommend it. Sorry about that. Here, let me just get rid of this. All right, so carrying on. What do we got next? All right, Batman v Bigby. Uh, this is a comic that I didn't take really a lot of notes on this. I'm gonna actually skip over this one. I enjoyed this. If I enjoyed it, but I'm just gonna skip over it. If you're a fan of Batman v Bigby, it just builds to a head. There finally, Bookworm has basically been possessed by and has been sort of trying to get some power from taking all these books which are linked to the fables, and Batman and Bigby finally team up to address it. Um, I'm enjoying it. I might do a separate review on it, but if you guys are fans of Batman v Big, let's face it, unless you're a fan of Fables, you're probably not picking this up. But if you're a fan of Fables, you probably are picking it up. If I had one criticism of Batman v Big V, is that not enough of the Fables mythology is incorporated into this story, and that's the disappointing aspect of it. Bill Willingham is a really good writer. I love Bill Willingham, and Bill Willingham has also had a lot of experience writing Batman, and so he's got a lot of experience writing Batman. He's written Batman before, but he's written Fables. And I think that he curiously enough in this series, he's created his own army of Robins for Batman. And I think he spent more time describing or creating a new Batman sort of mythology with a new Batman family than he did trying to say something new or trying to focus and incorporate the Fables lore into this. I wanted more Fables. I wanted more Fables and less Batman family. In fact, I would have preferred not to have the Batman family, just Batman. I think that actually takes away from this overall because I like Fables that much. But I'm nitpicking here. I really am. This is a good series. I'm not going to go through the comic. You guys, I'll just say that this issue, it's finally building to a head. Batman and Bigby are finally working together, and they finally confront Bookworm. And at the end, there's going to be one final issue after this. This is book 5. It goes book 6. There's one issue after this where it'll finally be over, and there'll be a final issue for it. All right, Catwoman. I mean, let's talk about Catwoman 39. Now, this is something where I think a lot of people were sort of curious as to what was going to happen with this. This is Tini Howard's first Catwoman issue. Now, there's a lot of people over at Marvel that, I don't read the X-Men. So I read Hoxpox, I read House of X, Powers of X, and I read the 4 issues of Inferno. And so it was okay. I guess it wasn't necessarily the greatest, but it was okay. I didn't mind it. But a lot of people apparently did not like Tini Howard's work on, I think, was it Excalibur? I'm not sure, but I don't know. All I know is that reading Tini Howard's Catwoman here, I thought this was good. This is already an opening issue that is better than what Joelle Jones did in her run. But I enjoyed this. I thought this was good. This is Selina Kyle, essentially going back and meeting Iko Hasegawa, who's the head of the Hasegawa Yakuza clan. And for those who don't know, what was it, 6-7 years ago? Selina Kyle had a relationship, part of her bisexual relationship she had with Iko Hasegawa at one point. So this is a former lover of Selina Kyle, and Selina Kyle wants to get back into the game and be a thief. And I want to give some credit here to Tini Howard because she's clearly done her homework. I think she nails the character of Iko very well. And is it Iko or is it Iko? I apologize again if I'm bastardizing the pronunciations, but I thought this was really well done. I liked how Selina Kyle infiltrated the club. I like how I love the fight scenes. I mean, the art here too by I want to make sure I get the Leon on the art. Really good job. I mean, I just love it, and Jordie Bellaire and the colors. There's something away that the colors sort of, I love the use of the pink and the darker blues. These are very nice. I mean, you could tell like when they were in a nightclub, the nightclub setting, and even the girls, they're dressed like cats, almost like a Playboy club, and Selina's in there. This was really good, and it's called Dangerous Liaisons, Part 1 of 4. Nico Leon is the art, Jordie Bellaire and colors, Tom Napolitano on the letters. I'm impressed. Iko looks sexy as hell when Selina approaches her. Selina has realized that from Alleytown, a lot of her own shipments coming from Alleytown have been essentially intercepted, and she believes that Iko would know some information in terms of what she needs some help. She followed the money flowing out of Alleytown, and it all runs back to Aiko's area of Gotham, and and uh, yeah, there's a number of crime families that are involved in this, and Selena wants to investigate, and I, Eco is going to give her the information she needs to do that. Now, the one thing that I find interesting about Eco is that Eco herself used to actually be Catwoman and pretended to be Catwoman for a while, and so I'm curious. I mean, Selena used to be a mafioso, like essentially was the head of a crime family herself. And so I'm not sure what makes Selena think she can trust the Eco, uh, because Eco is more involved in the crime family than ever before. So I'm a little bit curious in terms of how Teenie Howard's going to handle that. But she nails the voice of Selena very well. Again, the art is really good. It's fantastic. Selena ends up finding basically an old abandoned, beautiful home, beautiful penthouse to live in, and this is again, I'm intrigued by this. There's this new character called he calls himself the I'm not sure what the hell he calls himself. Um, hmm, call himself the Duchess. Catwoman, it's an honor to meet you. The cat's name is Duchess. Okay. No, I don't know what his name is. I'm trying to find this guy's name. Um, okay. In any event, this guy's trying to recruit Catwoman into some international BS, and he tries to intrigue her by showing her a rare cat. And yeah, I'm not sure who this guy is. Uh, in any event, he's an interesting enough guy. Yeah, again, this covers everything. I mean, there's like bar scenes, sexy women, mob scenes, fight scenes, scenes with Selena sort of working out. I mean, it covers everything in all in this opening issue. Um, yeah, I'm impressed. And then even Black Mask shows up. So hey, like I said, uh, I'm impressed in that Teenie Howard has incorporated a lot of different elements in this story. Yeah, this is one where you can tell because usually, now, is this going to break any new ground? No, it's not going to break any new ground. I take notes. I didn't take any notes for this issue because I didn't feel I needed to. This just feels like this is ultimately just another uh, sort of Catwoman scheming to be a thief sort of thing, and this trying to get to the bottom of why the money flowing out of Alleytown is being disrupted. And in any event, I'm definitely on board. This is 4 parts. The next one is Stealing Hearts, Taking Lives. Check it out. I don't, I can't anything like this is an easy to read comic. This was as an opening issue. I think Teenie Howard has done a very good job here. Uh, I can't say anything negative about it. I quite enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next issue. So I don't know how much more simple I can get than that. All right. All right. Continuing on. What do we got? What do we got? Green Lantern. Yes, Green Lantern number 10. Well, Jeffrey Thorne's Green Lantern, I got to tell you, this is something where this is a comic where this has been Jeffrey Thorne has clearly gone. He really wants to prop up John Stewart Green Lantern, and this issue makes it clear, at least in my eyes, that John Stewart is an important figure. I'm just not really clear the powers that John Stewart has in this issue, but clearly there's a lot of bold steps being taken by Jeffrey Thorne in the script here to really elevate John Stewart. Now, this issue starts off showing. First of all, it has a title called Apotheosis, and I didn't bother Googling what apotheosis means. One of the things that I actually found a little bit annoying about each chapter in this Green Lantern, in the 10 issues of Green Lantern, is that the title of each individual issue has just a really odd name or some Latin phrase or something that some of them I Googled and I didn't see how they had any connection to the story, which doesn't help because the story itself I find to be kind of confusing at parts, the John Stewart element of it. The other side, the adventures that are taking part on Oa with Joe Mulane and the rest of the Green Lantern Corps, that's easier to follow, and I find that more interesting. I'm not very interested in what's happening with John Stewart here because honestly, I don't understand what's happening with John Stewart. And it's also not clear to me that Jeffrey Thorne understands what he's writing about John Stewart. I've taken notes here, and I'm just going to read off my notes because I'm trying to make sense of this. In this issue, John Stewart states that what has happened so far is he has a vision of his wife, Katma Tui, and apparently John created a manifold, a place that he used to eat hyper time, and this issue opens up with John Stewart being I guess a king of a new planet, and he's got this weird hairdo, and he looks pretty cool and intimidating. Like, I mean, he looks kind of like he looks cool. I like his look. That looks pretty cool with the hairdo and the goatee and everything. So he looks badass. But there's a dark god, I can't remember the name, built dark sectors out of hypertime, which are branches off the main timeline. So there was a dark god that built dark sectors out of hypertime, and that these clusters of hypertime apparently moved together, but we don't know why. John Stewart apparently became ascended because one of the new gods, Lomar, told him he's a god, but he's more than a new god. He's ascended, and so John Stewart ascended, and then somehow there was a fight because another new god was trying to do something with the dark sectors, and I don't understand what. A god storm resulted that would destroy the universe, so John ate it. This is how dumb this is. John Stewart actually ate it. He created something called a manifold, but then he said it ate it or it ate me. John isn't sure. So this is how dumb this is. John isn't sure if he ate. I mean, literally, that's the phrase used. I mean, if you can't come up with a concept that has a better visual to explain to readers that John ate, I mean, he ate hypertime. He ate these dark sectors. It just doesn't, none of this makes any sense to me at all. This is just really bad. The visuals are really fantastic, but what the hell does any of this have to do with anything? Like, I don't want this story to have any relevance to the DC universe. Like, what? I mean, John Stewart, he looks different every issue. He's wearing a different suit every issue. He's got a different power every issue. I don't like this is really, really bad. It gets worse. John Stewart can see the structure under everything and inside everything. Hyper time, he says, does not have to be just splinters. So what? First of all, hypertime is nobody's ever said that hypertime is just splinters. Hypertime, each individual hypertime is its own universe. We know that. That's what hypertime is. So I'm wondering what Jeffrey Thorne thought hypertime was to begin with. We referred to hypertime sometime as sort of splinter timelines from our own, but we know that they're their own universes. So I'm not really sure if this is just some sad way to tell people that we're in the DC Omniverse. We already know that. We already know we're in the DC Omniverse and that everything matters. So I'm not sure what this is about. At some point, John is attacked. He hallucinates his dead wife, Cat. I'm just gonna call her Cat because again, these stupid names of these Green Lantern characters. His dead wife, Cat. Apparently, he can resurrect the dead now. John Stewart can resurrect the dead, and And then to make it even more stupid, and again, I say stupid because it's stupid. These, because I think this is dumb. This is not imaginative. This is stupid. John resurrects. He resurrects people who are dead. All the 300 Green Lanterns that were killed, John, that were killed earlier in the issues, like this, we're 10 issues in. 300 Green Lanterns were killed when they went to the dark sector. John Stewart has now resurrected and brought back to life all 300 of those Green Lanterns. And yet he says specifically that this isn't a resurrection. He just brought them back. He doesn't have to resurrect anybody. He just needs to bring them back. I can fix everything, Cat. Every death, every evil being, every cosmic monster. I can fix it all. Okay. So why? So who wants this? John Stewart is John Stewart. He's a soldier Green Lantern. So is he going to be like Parallax now? And he looks evil. He looks evil in the scene. So I don't even know what the point is. I just don't get this. And then for some stupid reason, he gets attacked by the Godstorm again. And then I don't know, Loner shows up and says, you have to choose. Your ascended body is harnessing the storm, the Godstorm. You have to accept this energy or it will expand and destroy the cosmos. You have to choose your future state. So there's that word, future state. Could you have picked a worse word right now? I mean, future state was a failure in the DC universe. It was a failure. Unfortunately, now we're referencing the future state. John, you have to choose your future state. Why? To calm the Godstorm or the cosmos will be destroyed? I don't believe that shit for a moment. I don't believe that for a moment. It doesn't make any sense. They're in a dark sector. Who cares? Dark sector consisting of splinters of hypertime. None of it makes any sense. Why are we supposed to care? None of this makes any sense. Like, this is very, very badly put together because if it doesn't make sense, how am I supposed to know? Why am I supposed to care? It doesn't make any sense. So why would the reader feel any danger for the DCU? The storyline doesn't make sense. It just straight up doesn't make sense. And so I guess he chooses a future version of himself. I don't know. And he chooses a future version of himself. What was the version at the beginning? Why was that even in there? It doesn't even make sense. I don't understand why I don't understand this comic. And then he sees the source and he sees everything, and so I don't know. And then it goes back to Oa, and unfortunately this gets even. I found this to be the most confusing element of the Oa story, which is sad. And it's revealed that apparently the Guardians aren't dead, and that Koyos who was possessed. Koyos is gone insane, and Koyos is the one that manipulated events, and it was Koyos's sister, Nemosina, the sister to Koyos, the Guardian. She suspected that Koyos was possessed, and so she created the new ring that went to Joe Mullein in the Far Sector universe, and that's why Joe Mullein's ring didn't cease to function, because it was created differently, specifically for Joe. And it was Nemosina that's specifically sent John Stewart to the dark sector with 1,000 Green Lanterns to keep them away from what she suspected Koyos would do to the central power battery. And at the end of the day here, Koyos is insane. And I guess I still don't really know what's going on. And at the end, thank God Hal Jordan shows up to help them. Hal Jordan shows up with the Justice League to help them defeat Koyos, along with the other Guardians that are all alive. So the Guardians aren't really dead. So that was all misdirection. They weren't dead. So we didn't have much to worry about anyway. If the Guardians weren't dead, why didn't they just create a new power battery right away? Why didn't they take out Koyos right away? What was the point of the last 10 issues? And then the Dark Sector nonsense. What the hell was that about? What were all those stories with John Stewart on the other planet interacting with those other species and nonsense? And what was the point of that future state stories that had nothing to do with these 10 issues? I got to tell you, man, this is really disappointing. I, for the life of me, I've reread these 10 issues more than twice, and I don't understand. I couldn't explain to anybody exactly. What's happened to John Stewart. Um, this is just I hate to say it, but this is it's just badly written, and it lacks clarity, and that's just the way it is. And so I can't recommend it to anybody. Jeffrey Thorne, I appreciate that he's trying to maybe add some gravitas to John Stewart, but uh, I think it was a disservice. I really do, because I like John Stewart the way he was. This is kind of embarrassing. It makes John Stewart almost kind of look like an idiot, because I don't understand what happened to him, and John Stewart doesn't seem to know what's happening to him, and just stupid dialogue like eight eating a universe, or eating whatever, eating hyper time, just nonsense. Like, come on, like seriously, just a little bit more forethought into these stories. Like this is what you call God mode insanity. John Stewart going God mode, and God mode in a very bad way, because it's nonsensical. So in any event, definitely a skip it for Green Lantern 10. And what a disappointment! What a disappointment, and a missed opportunity to say some, to elevate Green Lantern. Just again, significant misses for some of these characters between Black Manta and Green Lantern. At least Jackson Hyde is getting a little bit better props. But anyways, I guess we'll see. Icon and Rocket was spectacular, though. It continues to be great, and we'll be getting Icon and Rocket probably in part 2, because I'm going to have to stop. There's too many comic books to review this week, so I'm going to have to do this in fits and giggles, okay? All right, I'll do one more here, and then we'll call it a break, and we'll get to a next one here. I just want to... let me see here. What's the next one we're going to do? Nightwing! All right, Nightwing. You know what? I have decided that I'm going to call it quits right here. This is the end of part 1, and I'll have part 2 up in a bit. But I gotta take a break. I got some work I gotta do, and I'll be back in a bit with part 2. All right. So I shall see you guys later, and I'll just end this part 1 here for the week of January 18th, 2022.